The big meeting hall on Vection Prime was full of noise. 12 different alien races had come together to talk about space territories. The room was huge, with high walls and bright lights that showed off the fancy technology of each species. Captain Lee Tae-ho walked into the hall with his small team. Behind him came Commander Park So-min, a young woman with sharp eyes who never missed anything. The humans wore simple blue uniforms that looked plain next to the colorful clothes of the aliens. Seoul's Pride sat outside in the docking bay. It was a medium-sized ship that looked ordinary. The hull was gray metal with no fancy decorations. Next to the huge alien ships, it looked like a small toy. Admiral Vextar was the first to laugh. He was a tall reptile creature with green scales and yellow eyes. His voice was loud and rough when he spoke. "Look at what the humans brought," he said to the other aliens. "Is that even a real warship?" The other aliens turned to look at the human ship through the big windows. A creature made of blue crystal started making high-pitched sounds that must have been laughter. The mechanical beings called the Nexus clicked and buzzed in what sounded like amusement. "That rust bucket looks like it might fall apart in space," said Captain Zorth from the Vorthan Empire. He had purple skin and 4 arms. "How did they even make it here?" Lee Tae-ho kept his face calm. He had been a ship captain for 20 years. He had seen many battles and learned to control his emotions. So-min stood next to him, her hands behind, her back. She was watching everything and remembering it all. The meeting started with each race, showing pictures of their territories. The aliens had maps of hundreds of star systems. They owned planets rich with metals and energy. Each one tried to show they were more powerful than the others. When it was the human turn, Lee stepped forward. "We have 3 colonies in the Outer Rim," he said in a steady voice. "We want to keep them and live in peace with all of you." The room exploded with laughter. Even the normally quiet, ethereal beings seemed amused. Their crystal bodies glowed, brighter, which meant they found something funny. 3 colonies? Vextar's yellow eyes looked mean. "We have 300 systems each. You humans are like children playing with toys." A fat creature covered in brown fur stood up. "The Bulgon Collective has been in space for 10,000 years, he said in a deep voice. "Humans have been flying between stars for what, 50 years? You are babies." Lee nodded politely. "We may be new to space, but we learn fast." This made the aliens laugh even more. The crystal beings made sounds like breaking glass. The mechanical Nexus creatures clicked rapidly. Even the normally serious Vorthon delegation was smiling with their sharp teeth showing. So-min stepped closer to Lee and whispered, "Captain, should I start recording their ship positions?" Lee nodded slightly. So-min touched a small device on her wrist. She began taking notes on where each alien fleet was positioned around Vection Prime. The humans looked weak, but they were not stupid. The main discussion started about mining rights in the Outer Rim. Each alien race wanted more territory. They argued loudly about who deserved what. The humans just listened and watched. "The Outer Rim has the best rare metals," said the ethereal speaker. Her voice sounded like music, but her words were hard. "New species like humans should not control such valuable resources." "Agreed," said Vextar. He stood up to his full height, which was much taller than any human. "The Dominion has the strongest fleet. We should control those systems." Lee stood up calmly. "Those are human colonies with human families living on them. We will not abandon our people." The room went quiet for a moment. Then the laughter started. Again, louder than before. "Human families?" Vextar's voice was full of mockery. "What can humans do against real military power? Your ship out there looks like it was built in someone's garage." The other aliens nodded in agreement. The mechanical Nexus beings showed holographic images of their massive war fleets. Thousands of ships filled the display, each one bigger than the Seoul's Pride. "Look at real ships," buzzed the Nexus speaker. "Each of our vessels has firepower that could destroy your entire fleet." The Bulgon representative rolled forward on his short legs. "Our shields can stop anything humans might shoot at us. Your weapons are probably still using chemical explosives." So-min's jaw tightened, but she stayed quiet. Lee put a gentle hand on her shoulder to keep her calm. The Vorthon captain pulled up images of his hunting ships. They were long and sharp, covered in weapons. These ships have hunted across the galaxy for centuries. They have never lost a battle. Lee looked at each alien delegation carefully. We prefer peaceful solutions to problems. Peaceful? Vextar laughed so hard his scales rattled. Space is not peaceful, human. The strong take what they want. The weak get nothing. The crystal ethereal. Being glowed brighter. Perhaps humans should go back to their home planet. Space is too dangerous for such a young species. We could protect you, offered the fat Bulgon. In exchange for those mining colonies, of course. We would keep you safe like children. Lee's face stayed calm, but his eyes got colder. So Min noticed and started planning different responses in her head. She was the ship's tactical officer and always thought about fighting. The meeting went on for hours. Each alien race made bigger and bigger demands. They wanted the human colonies. They wanted humans to stay in just one small area of space. They wanted humans to pay them for protection. Through the big windows, more alien ships kept arriving. Heavy battleships, fast destroyers, and huge carriers filled the space around Vexian Prime. The Soul's Pride looked tiny among them. "Look outside," said Vextar, pointing at the ships. "That is real power. What do humans have? One small ship that probably cannot even fight properly." The other aliens pressed closer to the windows to look at their impressive fleets. Hundreds of warships of different shapes and sizes floated in space. Some were as big as cities. Others moved fast like metal sharks. Lee and So Min also looked outside. They saw all the alien ships surrounding their vessel. Any normal person would be scared. But the two humans just looked thoughtful. "Impressive ships," Lee said quietly. "Very impressive indeed." Vexitar heard this and smiled with his sharp teeth. "Finally, you understand. Humans cannot compete with this kind of power." Lee turned back to face the room full of aliens. "We understand many things," he said. "Perhaps more than you think." The aliens laughed again, but some of them noticed something different in the human captain's voice. It was not fear. It was not surrender. It was something else entirely. As the day ended, the aliens made their final demands clear. Humans had to give up their colonies or face the consequences. The meeting would continue tomorrow. But everyone knew what the aliens really meant. War was coming, and the humans looked completely outmatched. The second day of talks started badly. Captain Lee Tae-ho sat at the small human table while the aliens made their demands clear. They wanted the 3 human colonies and would not accept no for an answer. Admiral Vextar stood at the front of the room like he owned it. His green scales caught the light as he spoke in his rough voice. "Humans have one choice," he said. "Give us those mining worlds, or we will take them by force." Commander Park So-min sat next to Lee, taking notes on her small computer. She looked calm, but her fingers moved quickly across the keys. She was not just writing about the meeting. She was also recording every detail about the alien ships outside. Dr. Kim Woo-jin waited on the Soul's Pride. He was a thin man with thick glasses who spent most of his time working with machines. Right now, he was in the ship's main lab, making final checks on systems that the aliens knew nothing about. "Captain," So-min whispered to Lee, "I count over 200 alien ships now. They keep bringing more." Lee nodded slightly. Through the big windows, they could see the alien fleets getting bigger. New ships arrived every hour. Battle cruisers, destroyers, and massive dreadnoughts filled the space around Vexian Prime, the crystal ethereal being spoke in her musical voice. "Humans are too young for space. You should go back to your home world where it is safe." "Safe for who?" asked the mechanical Nexus speaker. Its red lights blinked as it talked. "Safe for humans, or safe for everyone else when humans are gone?" Other aliens found this funny. They made various sounds of amusement. The Bulgan delegation rolled back and forth in what looked like laughter. Captain Zorth from the Vorthan Empire leaned forward. His 4 arms moved as he talked. "Our hunters have been tracking human ships for weeks. You only have a few dozen. Vessels total. We have thousands." Lee kept his voice steady. "Numbers are not everything in war." "No?" Vexitar's yellow eyes gleamed. "Then what matters, human? Your advanced technology? He laughed so hard that other aliens joined in. The fat, Bulgon leader spoke up. We have scanned your ship many times. Basic metal hull, simple engines, old-style weapons. It is like looking at ancient history. So-Min's hand tightened on her computer, but she kept typing. She was recording everything they said about human technology. This information would be useful later. On the Soul's Pride, Dr. Kim got a message on his communicator. It was from the captain, using a code that only the crew knew. The message was short. Prepare for full activation. Timeline moved up. Kim pushed his glasses up and started working faster. Around him, machines hummed quietly. The aliens thought they knew what human technology looked like. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Back in the meeting hall, the demands got worse. The aliens did not just want the mining colonies now. They wanted humans to pay them tribute. They wanted humans to ask permission before going to new star systems. Think of it as protection money, said the ethereal being. Her crystal body glowed with soft light. We will keep other dangerous species away from human space. What other dangerous species? Asked Lee. The aliens all looked at each other and started laughing again. It was like they had heard the funniest joke ever. You are looking at them, said Vextar. We are the dangerous species, and right now we are feeling very unfriendly toward humans. Lieutenant Hansuji was on the Soul's Pride, listening to alien communications. She was young but very good at her job. Her equipment could pick up signals that the aliens thought were private. What she heard made her worried. The alien fleets were not just positioning for show. They were preparing for battle. Weapons were being charged, shields were being tested, and attack plans were being made. She sent a coded message to Commander So-Min. They plan to attack whether we agree or not. This is not a negotiation. It is a trap. So-Min read the message and passed it to Captain Lee. He looked at it for a moment, then deleted it. His face did not change, but So-Min saw his hands close into fists for just a second. The Vorthon captain was showing holographic images of his hunting ships destroying other vessels. These ships have conquered 50 different species, he said, proudly. Some tried to fight, some tried to run, all of them lost. Your ship reminds me of the Keldan Empire, added the Bulgon leader. They also thought they could stand against superior forces. Now they mine ore for us on prison planets. Lee stood up slowly. Are you threatening to enslave humans? The room went quiet. Then Vextar smiled, showing all his sharp teeth. Enslave, why? Is such an ugly word. We prefer to say we will give humans new jobs. Hard labor builds character. The other aliens laughed, but it was a darker sound now. They were not just mocking humans anymore. They were threatening them. So-Min's computer beeped softly. She had a new message from Dr. Kim. All systems ready for activation. Waiting for your signal. She looked at Captain Lee and nodded once. He understood. We need time to think about your offer, Lee said to the room full of aliens. Offer? Vexitar's voice was sharp. This is not an offer. This is what will happen. But we are generous. We will give you 24 hours to accept reality. The crystal ethereal being glowed brighter. 24 hours to contact your homeworld and tell them goodbye. After that, those colonies belong to us. More alien ships kept arriving outside. The space around Vexian Prime was now full of warships. Each one was bigger and more heavily armed than the Soul's Pride. The mechanical Nexus creatures showed new images. These were pictures of human colonies from space. We have been watching. Your settlements? Buzzed their speaker. Small populations, weak defenses, no military ships nearby. Taking them will be simple. Lee and So-Min exchanged glances. The aliens had been spying on human colonies for weeks, maybe months. This meeting was never about negotiation. It was about giving humans a chance to surrender before the attack. You seem surprised, said Captain Zorth. Did you think we came here without preparation? We know everything about human space. Your trade routes, your patrol schedules, your military strength. We know you cannot fight us. The aliens started, making plans out loud, not caring that the humans could hear. They talked about which ships would attack which colonies. They argued about how to divide the mining equipment and captured humans. The Bulgon Collective wants the orbital refineries, said the fat leader. We have experience with industrial operations. The Dominion claims the actual mining sites, Vextar declared. Our ships will need fuel for the conquest. Lee listened to all of this with a calm face. Inside, he was getting angry, but he did not let it show. These aliens were planning to attack innocent human families, and they talked about it like discussing the weather. So Min was typing faster now. She was not taking meeting notes anymore. She was sending coded orders to different human ships hidden throughout the galaxy, ships that the aliens did not know about. The ethereal being spoke again. Humans should feel honored. Most species we simply destroy. We are allowing you to live as workers. Very generous, said the Nexus speaker. Most biological species are too weak for heavy labor. Humans might last longer than the others. The Vorthon captain laughed. If they work hard and follow orders, we might let some of them keep their families together. That was too much for So Min. She stopped typing and looked up at the aliens with cold eyes. Lee put a gentle hand on her arm to keep her from saying something that would make things worse. The meeting ended with the aliens feeling very pleased with themselves. They had scared the humans and shown their overwhelming power. Tomorrow, they would get their surrender and divide up the prizes. As the aliens left the hall, they talked loudly about their victory. They were already planning how to spend the wealth from the human colonies. Lee and So Min were the last to leave. They walked slowly back to their ship, looking like defeated people. But anyone who knew them well would have seen something dangerous in their eyes. Dr. Kim was waiting for them when they got back to the Soul's Pride. All systems are ready, he said quietly. We can activate everything in 30 seconds. Lee nodded. Good. Send a message to Admiral Lim. Tell her it is time. So Min smiled for the first time all day. Should I tell the aliens we accept their generous offer? Not yet, said Lee. Let them think they have won. It will make tomorrow more interesting. Outside, their ship, hundreds of alien warships waited like hungry wolves. They thought the humans were trapped and helpless. They had no idea what was coming. The 24 hours passed slowly. Captain Lee Taeho spent most of the time on the Soul's Pride, checking systems and talking quietly with his crew. Commander Park So Min worked at her station, coordinating with other human ships that the aliens still did not know existed. Dr. Kim Woo-jin barely slept. He moved through the ship's special sections, making sure every piece of hidden technology was ready. His hands shook slightly from too much coffee and not enough rest, but his work was perfect. Outside, the alien fleets grew even larger. More than 300 ships now surrounded Vexian Prime. Battle cruisers as big as cities floated next to fast attack ships that looked like metal sharks. The space around the planet was full of weapons and hungry warriors. Admiral Vextar was very happy. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at displays that showed all his ships. Each one reported ready for battle. His green scales gleamed under the bright lights as he prepared his final message to the humans. The meeting. Hall was packed with aliens when the deadline arrived. Every species had sent their top military commanders. They wanted to watch the humans surrender. Some of them had recording devices to capture the moment for history. Lee and So Min entered the hall exactly on time. They walked calmly to their small table while hundreds of alien eyes watched them. The humans looked tired but not defeated. Lieutenant Hansuji was on the Soul's Pride, monitoring all alien communications. The signals she picked up made her nervous. The alien fleets were not just ready to accept a surrender. They were preparing to attack, regardless of what the humans said. She sent a quick coded message to So Min. They plan to fire as soon as you refuse. Weapons are already charging. So Min read the message and nodded slightly. She touched her communicator and sent a signal to Dr. Kim. It was a simple message. Begin final preparations. In the ship's hidden sections, machines started humming with power. Systems that had been sleeping for months began to wake up. The Soul's Pride was getting ready to show its true nature. Vexitar stood up at the front of the room. His voice was loud and full of confidence. 24 hours have passed, humans. What is your answer? Lee stood up slowly. Around the room, aliens leaned forward to hear his words. Some of them were already smiling, expecting to hear a surrender. We have talked to our government on Earth. Lee said in a steady voice. "We have explained your generous offer." "And?" Vextar's yellow eyes gleamed with anticipation. "We refuse." The room exploded with noise. Some aliens laughed, others roared with anger. The crystal ethereal beings glowed so bright they hurt to look at. The mechanical nexus creatures clicked and buzzed like angry insects. "Refuse." The fat Bulgon leader's voice was full of disbelief. "You cannot refuse. Look outside. We have hundreds of ships. You have one." Lee nodded calmly. "We see your ships. Very impressive." "Then you understand," said Captain Zorth from the Vorthan Empire. His forearms moved as he talked. "You cannot win. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." "Deaths?" Lee's voice got slightly colder. "I thought you wanted workers." Vextar laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the hall. "That was when we thought you would be smart. Since you choose to be stupid, we will take your colonies by force. Any humans who survive the attack can work for us." The other aliens nodded in agreement. They had tried to be generous, but humans were too foolish to accept their offer. On the Soul's Pride, Captain O Minho was waiting in the hidden ship called Ghost Runner. It was much smaller than the Soul's Pride and completely invisible to alien sensors. He had been watching the alien fleets for hours, counting ships and noting their positions. He sent a message to Lee. "All enemy vessels mapped. Stealth fleet is in position, waiting for your signal." Lee's communicator buzzed softly. He read the message and deleted it, just like he had done with all the others. Engineering Chief Yoon Hai-Rin was deep inside the Soul's Pride, working with the ship's power systems. The aliens thought they knew how human ships worked. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Power levels at maximum," she reported to Dr. Kim. "All systems green. We can maintain full output for 6 hours." Kim nodded and continued his work. Around him, displays showed weapon systems that no alien had ever seen before. Humanity had been busy during their 50 years in space. Back in the meeting hall, Vexatar was enjoying himself. He loved the moment before a battle, especially when victory was certain. "You humans disappoint me," he said to Lee. "I thought your species was supposed to be clever." "This is just stupid." "Maybe," Lee replied, "but we prefer to choose our own stupidity rather than accept someone else's wisdom." The aliens found this hilarious. They laughed and made jokes about human pride and foolishness. Some of them were already planning how to divide up the captured human technology. The ethereal being spoke in her musical voice. "This is your last chance, human. Surrender now, and some of your people might live." Lee looked around the room at all the alien faces. Some were amused, others were angry, but all of them were confident. They believed they had already won. "I have a different offer," Lee said quietly. The room went silent. Even Vextar stopped laughing. "What kind of offer can you make?" asked the Nexus speaker. "You have nothing we want except your colonies." Lee smiled for the first time in 2 days. It was not a nice smile. "I offer you one chance to leave this system peacefully. Pack up your fleets and go home. Forget about human space." The silence lasted for about 3 seconds. Then the aliens started laughing harder than they had laughed yet. Some of them were laughing so hard they could barely breathe. "Leave?" Vextar wiped tears from his yellow eyes. "You want us to leave? With our hundreds of ships because you asked nicely?" "Because I asked once," Lee corrected. "I will not ask again." This made the aliens laugh even more. The Bulgun leader was rolling on the floor. The Vorthan captain was slapping the table with all 4 arms. "What will you do if we refuse?" asked the ethereal being. "Attack us with your one little ship?" Lee's smile got wider. "Something like that." Outside the meeting hall, alien crews were preparing for battle. Weapons were charged, shields were raised, and targeting computers locked onto the Soul's Pride. The human ship sat quietly in the middle of the alien formation, looking small and helpless. Vextar activated his communicator and spoke to his entire fleet. "All ships, prepare to destroy the human vessel. Make it quick, but painful. I want them to regret their stupidity." 300 alien ships turned their weapons toward the Soul's Pride. The humans were completely surrounded, with no way to escape. So Min looked at her captain. "Should I send the signal?" Lee checked his watch. Not yet. Let them get a little closer. On the Soul's Pride, Dr. Kim made his final preparations. Systems that had taken years to develop were finally ready for their first real test. He hoped they would work as well in battle as they did in simulations. Lieutenant Han Suji intercepted more alien messages. "Captain, they are moving into attack formation. They will fire in 90 seconds. Lee nodded. He looked out the windows at the alien fleets one more time. So many ships, so many weapons, all pointed at his small vessel. "Admiral Vextar," he said, speaking loud enough for everyone to hear. "You should know something about humans before you attack." "What is that?" Vextar asked, still smiling. "We came here seeking peaceful resolution. Since you have chosen otherwise, let me show you why humanity survived the journey to the stars." The alien laughter stopped. Something in Lee's voice made them nervous, though they could not say what. Lee touched his communicator. "All stations, this is the captain. Execute Operation Sunrise." On the Soul's Pride, every hidden system came online at once. The ship that had looked so ordinary began to change, and in space, invisible ships started becoming visible. The aliens had 60 seconds to understand how badly they had miscalculated. Then everything changed. The Soul's Pride changed in seconds. The gray metal hull split open in dozens of places, revealing weapon systems that no alien had ever seen before. Hidden panels slid away to show arrays of strange devices that hummed with dangerous energy. Admiral Vextar watched from the meeting hall window as the human ship transformed. His confident smile disappeared. "What is that?" he whispered. The ship's surface rippled like water as energy fields activated around it. The hull itself seemed to shift and flow, becoming something that looked more alive than mechanical. Blue light poured from the new openings, making the ship glow against the darkness of space. Dr. Kim Woo-jin was in the ship's control center, watching displays that showed system after system coming online. Years of secret work were finally being revealed. "Kinetic barriers at full power," he reported. "Quantum torpedoes armed. Gravity pulse cannons ready." Captain Lee Tae-ho's voice came over the communicator from the meeting hall. "Fire when ready, Doctor." The aliens in the meeting hall pressed against the windows, trying to understand what they were seeing. The small human ship now looked completely different. It was bigger, more angular, and covered with weapons that seemed to bend light around them. "Impossible," breathed the crystal ethereal being. "Those energy signatures are beyond anything we know." The first alien ship to fire was a Dominion heavy cruiser. Its massive plasma cannon sent a bolt of superheated energy straight at the Soul's Pride. The beam was bright enough to hurt the eyes and powerful enough to destroy a small moon. It hit the human ship and disappeared. The energy bolt struck the kinetic barriers around the Soul's Pride and simply vanished. The barriers absorbed the attack completely, leaving the human vessel untouched. "Direct hit on the human ship," reported the cruiser's captain over the alien communication system. "No damage visible. Recommend immediate second salvo." But there was no time for a second salvo. The Soul's Pride fired back. Quantum torpedoes launched from the transformed ship, but they did not follow normal paths through space. Instead, they phased in and out of reality, passing through the alien ship's shields like they were not there. The Dominion cruiser exploded in a ball of white fire. Pieces of metal scattered in all directions as the massive ship was destroyed. In seconds. In the meeting hall, aliens stood with their mouths open. The fat Bulgon leader had stopped rolling around and was staring at the window in shock. "One shot," Commander Park So-min said quietly to Captain Lee. "One shot, and their heavy cruiser is gone." More alien ships opened fire. Dozens of weapons lit up space with energy beams, plasma bolts, and kinetic projectiles. All of them aimed at the Soul's Pride. All of them disappeared when they hit the kinetic barriers. The human ship fired again. This time it used gravity pulse cannons that twisted space itself. The weapons did not shoot energy or metal. They shot distorted space-time that made reality bend and crack. A squadron of Vorthon hunters tried to escape the gravity pulse. Their ships were fast and maneuverable, built for chasing prey across the galaxy, but they could not outrun twisted space. The gravity wave caught all 6 ships at once. It compressed them like an invisible fist, crushing their hulls and breaking their spines. When the pulse passed, only wreckage remained. Captain Zorth watched his hunter ships die from the meeting hall. His forearms trembled as he tried to understand what had happened. How did they do that? Those were our fastest ships. The Soul's Pride continued its attack. Nanite swarm clouds launched from hidden ports, spreading through space like silver fog. When the tiny machines reached alien ships, they began eating through hull plating and electronic systems. A Nexus battleship tried to fight off the nanites with defensive lasers. The mechanical ship's weapons cut down thousands of the tiny machines, but millions more kept coming. Soon, the nanites had eaten through the ship's armor and were inside, destroying everything they touched. The battleship's lights flickered and died. Its weapons stopped working. Its engines shut down. In minutes, one of the most advanced ships in the galaxy had become floating junk. "This is impossible," said the Nexus speaker in the meeting hall. Its red lights were flashing in what looked like panic. "No biological species has this technology level." Commander Somin smiled. "Who said we were just biological?" Engineering Chief Yoon Hyrin was working hard to keep all the weapon systems powered. The Soul's Pride was using more energy than a small star, but human technology was up to the challenge. "Plasma lance arrays charging," she reported. "Ready to fire on your command." The plasma lances were different from the other weapons. They fired beams of controlled starfire that could cut through anything. The human ship aimed at a group of ethereal crystal ships that were trying to coordinate a counterattack. The plasma beams lanced out like bright swords. Where they touched the crystal ships, the alien vessels simply melted. The beautiful structures that had taken centuries to grow were reduced to glowing slag in seconds. "Our ships," whispered the ethereal being in the meeting hall. Her crystal body was flickering with distress. "Our beautiful ships." The alien formation was falling apart. Ships that had seemed so confident minutes ago were now trying to run away. But the Soul's Pride moved through space like it was dancing, always in the right position to intercept escaping vessels. Dr. Kim was amazed at how well everything worked. The human ship's movement system used controlled gravity fields to push against space-time itself. It could change direction instantly without worrying about momentum or acceleration. "We are faster than their fastest ships," he reported with excitement in his voice. "More maneuverable than their interceptors. They cannot escape." Lieutenant Han Suji was listening to alien communications as panic spread through their fleets. Ship captains were screaming for orders. Some wanted to fight, others wanted to run. Most just wanted to understand what was happening. "Dominion Command, this is Battle Group 7, came one transmission. "Human ship is using unknown technology. Request immediate reinforcements." "Battle Group 7, this is Command," came the reply. "What kind of unknown technology?" "All of it, sir. Everything they have is unknown." Admiral Vexitar was still in the meeting hall, but he was no longer watching the battle. He was trying to contact his own ships, demanding reports and explanations. "How many ships have we lost?" he barked into his communicator. 17 heavy cruisers, 23 destroyers, and 41 fighters, came the reply. "The human ship appears to be undamaged." Captain Lee walked over to where Vexitar was standing. The alien admiral was much taller than the human, but somehow Lee seemed to be looking down at him. "Perhaps you would like to reconsider your position," Lee said politely. Vexitar's yellow eyes were full of rage and fear. "What kind of ship is that? What technology are you using?" "Human technology," Lee replied. 50 years in space taught us many things. We learn fast, remember?" Outside, the battle continued. The Soul's Pride had destroyed or disabled over 60 alien ships without taking any damage. Every weapon the aliens used simply disappeared into the kinetic barriers. But the most shocking moment was yet to come. Captain Oh Min-ho's voice came over Lee's communicator. "Ghost Runner to Soul's Pride. Ready to decloak on your signal." Lee smiled. "All stealth ships, decloak now." In space around Vection Prime, 40 human ships suddenly became visible. They had been there all along, hidden by technology that made them invisible to alien sensors. Each one was as advanced as the Soul's Pride, and all of them had their weapons ready. The aliens in the meeting hall stared out the windows at the new human fleet. They had thought they were surrounding one helpless ship, Instead, they had flown into a trap. "How many?" whispered the Bulgon leader. "More than enough," said Commander Somin. The alien fleets that had seemed so powerful were now caught between 40 human ships that could appear and disappear at will. Ships that could ignore their weapons and destroy them with technology they could not understand. Admiral Vextar's communicator crackled with desperate messages from his fleet commanders. They were asking for orders, begging for help, pleading for permission to surrender. But Vextar could not speak. He was staring at the human ships in space, trying to understand how everything had gone so wrong so fast. Captain Lee checked his watch. 1 hour, he said to the room full of stunned aliens. "In 1 hour, we have disabled 3 of your fleets. How long do you think the rest will last?" The alien fleets were broken. Ships that had arrived with confidence and pride were now scattered wreckage floating in space. Of the 300 vessels that had surrounded Vection Prime, less than half were still able to fight. Admiral Vextar's flagship was damaged, but not destroyed. His green scales had lost their shine, and his yellow eyes looked hollow with defeat. He stood at the window of the meeting hall, watching his mighty fleet fall apart. "Impossible," he kept saying. "This is impossible." Captain Lee Tae-ho walked to the center of the room. All the aliens turned to look at him. The human captain who they had mocked yesterday now commanded their complete attention. "You wanted to know about human technology," Lee said in a calm voice. "Let me explain. We have been in space for 50 years. Every single day we learned something new. Every battle, every challenge, every failure taught us lessons." Commander Park So-min stood beside him, watching the alien faces. Some showed fear, others showed confusion. All of them showed respect now. "The Soul's Pride is not just a ship," Lee continued. "It is a testing platform for our latest weapons and defenses. Everything you see today is the result of human innovation and determination." Dr. Kim Woo-jin's voice came over the communicator from the ship. "Captain, all systems are operating perfectly. We can continue this engagement for another 5 hours if necessary." The aliens heard this and looked even more worried. The human ship had been fighting for an hour without showing any signs of damage or fatigue. Outside, the human stealth fleet was systematically destroying what remained of the alien forces. The ships appeared and disappeared like ghosts, striking without warning and vanishing before the aliens could respond. The crystal, ethereal being spoke in a shaking voice. "How did you hide so many ships? Our sensors should have detected them." "Human. Stealth technology," So-min replied. "We learned to bend light and energy around our ships. To your sensors, we simply do not exist." Lieutenant Han Suji was monitoring alien communications. The messages she heard told the story of a complete defeat. Ship after ship was reporting critical damage or total destruction. "Vorthan Hunter Pack Alpha to any command vessel," came one transmission. "We are taking heavy casualties. Request permission to withdraw." "All Bulgon ships, retreat to safe distance," came another. "Human weapons are beyond our defensive capabilities." The fat Bulgon leader in the meeting hall was no longer rolling around in amusement. He sat very still, watching his people's ships get destroyed by technology he could not understand. "What do you want from us?" he asked in a quiet voice. Lee turned to face him. "The same thing we wanted yesterday, to be left alone, to keep our colonies and live in peace." "And if we agree?" asked Captain Zorth. The Vorthon's 4 arms hung limp at his sides. "Then you can take your remaining ships and leave," Lee said. "Go back to your territories and forget about human space." Admiral Vextar finally turned away from the window. His voice was rough with defeat. "And if we refuse?" Lee looked at him steadily. "Then we will continue this demonstration until you change your mind or run out of ships." The mechanical Nexus speaker's lights flickered weakly. "You would destroy all of us." "We would defend ourselves," So-min corrected. "You came here to threaten human families. You planned to enslave our people. What did you expect us to do?" Ambassador Choi Jae-sung entered the meeting hall at that moment. He was an older human with gray hair and a diplomatic uniform. Behind him walked General Lim Young-suk, a stern woman in military dress. "I apologize for being late," Ambassador Choi said politely. "We had to wait for the fighting to end." The aliens stared at the new arrivals. More humans? How many were there? General Lim walked to the window and looked out at the battle. Excellent work, Captain Lee. The fleet performed better than expected. Fleet? Vextar's voice cracked. What fleet? The third human battle fleet, Lim replied casually. 200 ships, all equipped with the same technology you just saw. They have been waiting in this system for 3 days. As she spoke, space around Vection Prime filled with new shapes. Human warships appeared everywhere, surrounding the remaining alien vessels. Each ship was sleek and advanced, bristling with weapons that the aliens now knew were deadly. The aliens in the meeting hall looked out at what seemed like an endless field of human ships. They had thought they were bringing overwhelming force to intimidate one species. Instead, they had sailed into the middle of a human fleet exercise. 200 ships, whispered the ethereal being. You have 200 ships this advanced? This is just one fleet, Ambassador Choi said with a smile. We have others. Humanity takes defense very seriously. Captain Oh Min-ho appeared on the main display screen. His stealth ship Ghost Runner was now visible, hovering near the alien flagship. Admiral Vextar, your ship is surrounded. Will you surrender, or shall we continue the demonstration? Vextar looked around the room at his fellow alien commanders. They all had the same expression of defeat and disbelief. We surrender, he said quietly. Excellent, said Ambassador Choi. Now we can discuss the future in a civilized manner. The ambassador activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy. Human territory was marked in blue, much larger than the aliens had known. Humanity controls 47 star systems, Choi explained. Our colonies are well defended and growing rapidly. We have trade agreements with 6 other species and defense pacts with 3 more. You said you only had 3 colonies? Protested the Bulgon leader. Captain Lee said we had 3 colonies in the Outer Rim, So-Min corrected. He did not say that was all we had. General Lim pointed to different areas on the map. Our shipyards are producing new vessels every month. Our technology improves constantly, and our military grows stronger with each passing year. The aliens realized they had been completely deceived. Humanity was not a weak young species struggling to survive in space. They were a major power that had been hiding their true strength. Why? Asked Captain Zorth. Why hide your capabilities? Because we prefer peace, Lee answered. When people think you are weak, they leave you alone to grow and develop. When they know you are strong, they either attack you or try to use you. We wanted time to establish ourselves, added Ambassador Choi, to build our defenses and develop our technology without interference. Dr. Kim's voice came over the communicator again. Captain, I am detecting more alien ships approaching the system. Looks like reinforcements. General Lim smiled. Let them come. It will save us the trouble of tracking them down later. The new alien ships arrived expecting to help with an easy victory. Instead, they found the wreckage of 3 fleets and a system full of advanced human warships. Their surrender took only minutes. By the end of the day, 12 different alien species had formally agreed to recognize human territory and sovereignty. Trade negotiations were scheduled for the following month. Defense agreements were being discussed. The galaxy had a new major power, and everyone knew it. Captain Lee stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, looking out at the stars. Commander So-Min joined him, carrying reports from the battle. No human casualties, she reported. Minor damage to 3 ships, all easily repaired. Complete mission success. Lee nodded. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them Operation Sunrise was successful. The galaxy now knows what humanity can do. Dr. Kim came up from the engineering sections, tired but happy. All systems performed perfectly, Captain. The new technology works even better in real combat than in simulations. Good, Lee said, because something tells me we will need it again. Lieutenant Han Suji was monitoring the communications from the defeated alien fleets. Most of the messages were about surrendering and asking for mercy, but some were different. Captain, she called out. I am picking up long-range transmissions to alien homeworlds. They are sending reports about what happened here. Let them, Lee replied. The more species that know about human capabilities, the fewer we will have to fight later. On Vection Prime, Ambassador Choi was meeting with the alien representatives. The discussions were much more polite now. The aliens who had been making Demands yesterday were now asking for trade agreements and non-aggression pacts. Humans seem to be very reasonable people, the ethereal being said carefully. Perhaps we can find ways to cooperate instead of compete. We hope so, Choi replied. But remember what you learned today. Humanity values peace, but we are prepared for war. Choose your approach accordingly. As the human fleet prepared to leave Vection Prime, word was already spreading across the galaxy. The species that had thought humans were weak and primitive were learning a hard lesson about underestimating their opponents. Humanity had revealed its true strength, and the balance of power in the galaxy had changed forever. In his final report, Captain Lee wrote, "Mission accomplished. The galaxy now understands that humanity is not prey. We are predators who choose to be peaceful. That choice is ours to make, and ours to change if necessary." The Soul's Pride and its fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving behind a very different galaxy than the one they had found. Word of the human victory would reach every civilized world within weeks, and everywhere the story was told, the message was the same. Never underestimate the humans. They learn fast,